discussing the paper for your NTA Psychology 2020 questions. Now here the questions were very interesting. There were more than one lines that were given, and you will have to understand the correct order of those sequences. So for example, this is a question on decision making perspective in a pro-social behavior. That means which is socially acceptable. Now what would you do? First you would understand whether there is a need for decision or not. Once you understand that there is a need for decision, you would go out and take a responsibility to do it. Finally, you would do a cost benefit analysis, and based on your cost benefit analysis, you would see whether you actually need to help and how much you need to help. Okay, so the correct sequence here would be understanding the need, taking a responsibility, weighing the cost and benefit, and then finally helping the people. The next is the Johnson-Laird's contingencies in scientific study of logic talks about propositional, relational, and syllogism. However, focus gambling is a part of concept formation. Now, what is the difference? Syllogism we have covered in our separate lectures where we have talked about the 3-Venn programs, the 3-Venn diagram problems. Relational is, I say Ram is taller than Shyam, Shyam is taller than Ghanshyam. That means Ram is taller than Ghanshyam. So that is a relation that I am trying to build. And propositional is the propositions of A, I, E and O that we have covered in our previous lectures, and square of proposition as well. The next is when we talk about attention. It is an interesting phenomena. If it is externally governed, we call it exogenous. For example, light, brightness, luminescence is affecting your attention. This is exogenous. Factors outside yourself. Endogenous is the factors within yourself. Shadowing is when you are trying to understand something, remember something, you do it word by word. I read it aloud word by word, divided attention, shadowing. So what I'm trying to do is read aloud one by one, and that is shadowing. And finally is divided attention, where there are two different stimuli and I'm trying to have my attention to both of those. So that is a divided attention. Now here the question says a clear explanation for exogenous attention. The next is the various aggressions and the kind of relations that are seen with those aggressions. Now, aggression is a behavior that is with an idea to injure or harm others. So when I say aggression social group, what does it mean? It is an action that is intended to hurt a person. Okay. So that's the basic definition for aggression. Antisocial aggression is where I am trying to create an act which violates the social norms. So when it violates the social norms, it is anything, for example, breaking someone's property, a murder scene. So all those are antisocial aggression phenomena. Pro-social aggression is where aggression is permissible to a group of people. That means it is desirable in a given group of people, and a group of people agree with that phenomena. And finally is the sanctioned aggression. Sanctioned aggression is one which is supported by a group of social norms, or for example, there could be a police action which is acceptable by a group of social norms, and therefore a police action against something that is being done wrong is a sanctioned aggression, even if police is trying to use a tear gas, control mob. It is a form of sanctioned aggression because it is accepted as a part of social norms. The next is which neurotransmitters play an important role in synaptic plasticity. Now glutamate is the right answer. This is a very important question. Glutamate basically is a major player as a subset of plasticity, and it focuses with the long-term potentiation. It is used for memory formation, one of the major elements for memory formation, and it explains that the brain has a capability to change and adapt to new information that comes in. Okay, so glutamate is the right answer. The next question is very interesting. In an independent group design, selective subject loss occurs because the subjects are lost differently across conditions, and they are the characteristics are responsible for the subject loss. That means in an independent group design, we have one independent variable which can be manipulated and must have two levels of manipulation. One is the control group, the other is the treatment group, and there could be a selective subject loss or a mechanical subject loss based on the same information. The next is, who among the following explain that life can be uncovered by creative, experiential and attitudinal values? So Viktor Frankl is the right answer. He focused his work on man's search for meaning. So his idea was how actually man is involved with his search for understanding a meaning and intensification of the inner self, realization of the inner self, his spiritual beliefs and spiritual belongings. The total cholesterol is determined by, so total cholesterol constitutes HDL, high density lipoprotein, low density lipoprotein along with 20% triglycerides. Now, high density lipoproteins are those HDLs which are found in all the cells of the body. LDL are bad cholesterol, they cause heart diseases, and triglycerides are mainly due to higher obesity, more alcohol consumption, thyroid or chronic kidney problems that could be there. So those are some of the reasons where you have fat deposition, and lack of exercise indeed one of the major reasons for those. The next is, among the following, which model proposes the three major functions of the brain? And that is the PASS model. PASS model talks about the planning, then you have attention arousal, stimulus processing and successive planning. So those are the four steps that are taken under the PASS model, which is governed by three units of the brain. Planning being taken into account by the frontal lobes of the brain. Then you have attention arousal taken again as an executive function of the frontal lobe. Simultaneous processing by the occipital and the parietal lobes. And finally, you have successive planning by the frontotemporal lobes. So, three different units of brain being involved under the process of PASS model. And this PASS model given by Das and Nigrale is one of the very important models in the recent editions of your syllabus in NET. So, again a very important topic. Haptics is a perception that is a mechanical stimuli to skin, and so it depends on what all factors. It depends on the shape of the object, the size of the object and identity of the object. Volume is immaterial. So there could be a lateral motion where you are trying to understand the texture, whether it is soft, glossy. You can understand by pressing it whether it is hard or soft. You can feel the temperature of the object, the weight of the object, okay, understand the enclosure, what thing it actually encloses, and finally is the kind of shape or size of the object. By feeling the object could be taken into account. So those are some of the important ideas that we have seen, and those have come as a part of this paper. Just to help you understand, some of the important topics this time were psychophysics, topics related to perception and sensory attention, focusing on biophysiology and biopsychology as some of the major important topics. The proportion of questions related to chronic illnesses, which focuses on heart ailments, proposition of the LDL, HLDL have been important. And if we can see, if you are practicing questions from the questions that have been asked in the applied psychology papers of Delhi University, those are very relevant with your new syllabus that has been included. So if you are focusing more on applied section, applied psychology, that would give you an extra edge towards answer solving. And definitely the questions for the past papers are available at the link below. You can go in for more details and more questions. Practice at least last 5 years papers very thoroughly, and that would give you an idea as to what kind of questions usually come in for your examination. We would be covering many interesting lectures for your psychology topics. Have a wonderful day ahead.